Daily game design time. I was at the CC Winans concert last night. A dear friend, Auntie Zenny, bought me a ticket. I would not have gone. I don't think I would have thought of it. The idea came up at our dinner Bible study one night. I very rarely go to concerts. I like them, but I just don't often think of going to them. And anyway, had a very, very sweet time. The weather generally held up. It rained a little bit on us. We were up in the grass. And so it was cool because I checked social media and a few other people were there. So I walked around, saw some people from Central Church. And anyway, it was cool to see people. I recognized a few people, even some guy that I think he subs at Mauna Lua with me. It was just kind of random being around there. It was at the Shell down in Waikiki. It's my first time going to a concert over there, and really enjoyed that. There was a nice reminder to praise before praise before evidence of change, I think, is one of the it was one of the ideas I took away. And this was Paul and Silas. This was the one example that stuck with me. Paul and Silas singing in the middle of the night before their chains fell away. And I think that's really important. As I described yesterday during my stream, I've had some ongoing frustrations, but I think the point here is I've forgotten to praise God, to be grateful for the opportunities I do have. So anyway, really nice, positive experience last night. Good to be with friends, and good to enjoy really great music, very well done music. Yeah, it's rare, but I probably should go more often. When I got home, I made some of my very first purchases of video games. I don't play video games generally. And I just opened Steam, and there was something for 90% off or whatever. So it was $2 or $3. One of the reasons I decided to check was because I have this crazy fan now that's just pointed at my laptop. As I've said in the past, I don't really play video games for a few reasons. One of them is I don't really have the hardware for it. So I just don't play. But anyway, I thought, wow, that's $2? And then I saw one of those things with a good deal was Dorfromantik. I have the board game version of Dorfromantik, and I've been curious about what the what the inspiration of the board game was. Never played this version, so I thought I'll just give this a shot. And downloaded it last night, and why not? So just have a look. I don't really know what makes this game awesome. I'm just looking at the tutorial right now. So if you have played this before, I can click and drag. Okay. I can rotate. Oh, cool. The birds, love that. I love that detail already. That's just cool that the birds fly around as well. While hovering over the background with your mouse, scroll the wheel to zoom. Nice. In Dorfromantik, you build landscapes out of hexagonal tiles. Click on any one of the empty tile slots where around your world with your left mouse button to place the top tile. From your stack. Okay, so I can see my stack. By the way, apart from just clicking around for a little bit, I think I'm just going to do the tutorial and then I'm going to be done. After that, I'm gonna share a little bit about how I approach reading a rule book. So it's my friend Cole. He's a gifted designer. He got published, was it twice this year? Or two of his games were kickstarted successfully. I think he's doing really well. So anyway, he's got a prototype. He sent me a work in progress rule book to have a look at, and that's what I'll do for a few minutes after I check this out. So while hovering over an empty slot, use your mouse. Okay. So it's zoom in and out if I'm off of the hexes, but when I'm... Yeah. Place tiles next to each other and connect their colored edges to form a forest spanning at least 5 tiles. Okay. Oh, that's cool. Okay. So I'm making something that spans 5 tiles. That's cool. Oops. I think... Oh, wait. Wait, how do I... There's no way to undo, I guess. Because I messed up this first one. Like, how was this not... Oh. That's a bummer. Now they're just giving me a ton of forest to work with. So I can't screw it up. Okay. The tile counter in the bottom right shows you the amount of tiles in your stack. Once it reaches 0, the session ends. Place 3 tiles to continue. Okay, it's loving this forest thing. Okay, so you gain tiles by fulfilling quests indicated by the speech bubbles. To complete this quest, add at least 4 additional houses to the colored edges. Wait. What? What is a colored edge? To the colored edges. What does that mean? I think I'm misunderstanding something here. Okay, so I got the houses. Here's another quest. To complete it, connect exactly 3 fields to the quest tile. Where is the quest tile? This is the quest tile. Okay, completing this quest spawned a flag, which indicates its group can be closed to gain extra points and tiles. This field group is closed when it cannot be expanded anymore. Hover over a flag to highlight the remaining open edges and place tiles there. Oh, so I probably want to connect forest. So I'm just trying to surround it at this point, I think, right? I'd like to do it in such a way that I get points for doing other things. Yeah, that didn't work out. There we go. Okay. Train tracks from river tiles have placement restrictions. Their ends cannot lead into different types of tiles. Invalid spots are marked with a red cross as visual help during the tutorial. Oh, okay. I don't know. Go here. Oh, in a river, just in a random place. Sure. Uh-oh. Yikes. It's a very needy Okay. Grow out here. Ooh. Oh. Why did it want me to do that? Tile unlocked. Start game. Okay. That's good. That's good for now. So, yeah, I can imagine wanting to be really careful with these placements and stuff. Anyway, cool. I see the inspiration. That's all I wanted. Yeah, I think I'll be back. Why not, right? And it looks like hopefully it wouldn't take a whole lot of resources. Okay, so I'm doing a quick read of Cole's rulebook. It looks like this is, yeah. It's already like nicely laid out. I'm kind of surprised he made it look as pretty as he did. So I'm just doing a quick highlight of things that stand out to me as sort of like, huh? Like question mark kind of stuff. And it doesn't mean it's wrong. All it means is there's something about it that's a little bit like, what's happening here? So when I'm reading, so this is something I like to help with, partly because I have some experience with like technical writing, but that's, I think, not where my real strength is. I think my real strength when it comes to reading rule books is I can read as like a really dense person. I can read as somebody who needs a lot of help trying to understand things. So, also a superpower gained by having friends who have a specific kind of style of thinking has been really helpful. So these are people, and I'm serious when I say this, like the way they think about games, it's very different from me. And what they try to do is they think of ways that rules can be stretched. Or if you're trying to do something, they're really good at thinking about how the language allows some ambiguity. Or they try to find ways to interpret the rules to their advantage. And so this is actually really, really beneficial to think this way when reading somebody else's rules. Like, how could my friends try to mess with these rules? So there's kind of two lenses that I like to read with the most. One is, I'm the dumbest player, or I have zero experience, I don't know. That's not quite fair, because I think most of these games assume that somebody has basic knowledge of even some of the jargon. Like, what is a card? You don't have to answer that question. You don't have to define a card in a rule book. Or what is a die? A die is a six-sided, it's a cube. When rolled, provides a result. Like, you don't have to, it does assume a few things about the player's experience. So that's a really interesting calibration. It's how much experience, as the reader, how much experience should I kind of simulate in my thinking? So here, this is a midweight Euro. So we already assume that the player has a lot of gaming experience. Midweight is no joke. You'll see when I transition back to working on ADRA HQ that actually midweight, like, you'll see how complicated I make Uno sound, like I was doing yesterday. And so midweight Euro is 1,000 times more complex than Uno, right? Something stupid like that. I'm sure that's not accurate. Also, this stands out to me as like, what in the world? This is a lot. That's not a problem, but I'm just already kind of looking at this thinking, wow, there's a lot going on here. And it will be a lot to describe, like how to manipulate these components. So I'm not going to take a lot of time here, but I was reading it earlier. He just sent it an updated version, and so I just started having a quick read. The story so far. So what stood out to me about this little section, you're a Jarl, a chieftain of a small Nordic village at the base of, no idea how to say that. It might be nice to have a little pronunciation guide here, so I should probably highlight that as well. The World Tree. As your village grows, your settlers will hone their skills in different fields of labor. From farmers to Vikings, your villagers will excel in the direction you choose to guide them. So for me, this felt redundant. I don't know why I read both of those sentences. It doesn't mean they shouldn't be there, but I'm not thinking a lot as I'm reading. I'm just giving my initial reaction. It doesn't, I'm, in a sense, I'm trying to be hard on this document. Right? If this was something very casual, if this was something that, one of my students is writing, I think it's not that important. But as I'm reading for somebody's rule book and they're aiming to get it published, they want my feedback. They're going to get the toughest feedback I can provide. And tough means, like, I'm going to act as suspicious of and as kind of as I said before, dense as possible. Also, this is a story. So you're a Jarl, a chieftain of a small Nordic village at the base of this. As your village grows. So it's assuming that the village is growing. Okay. I don't know if that's a safe assumption or not. But as your village grows, your settlers will hone their skills in different fields of labor. From farmers to Vikings, your villagers will excel in the direction you choose to guide them. Okay. Cool. Construct buildings, translate runestone. I would probably put, I'm a big Oxford comma guy. I have no idea why, but that's a super small detail. Totally unnecessary right now. Will ally with neighboring. This was also interesting, this choice. Going with the British spelling of neighboring. I'm not sure. I think I highlighted that up here. So anyway, what I was highlighting in this little section is, to me, these sentences they seem to be overlapping so much in what they're describing that I would probably want to figure out a way to separate them a little bit. So they're honing their skills. So was the punchline here that was the point of this idea of this sentence that I am doing the deciding, that I'm choosing how to guide them? Because they're doing this, they're getting better. Not a big deal at all. But anything I trip over, I'm just going to highlight, right? This I don't super love because there are 3 ones over here. And they're all pointing to the same thing, but again, it's not like a problem. But if I want to see a setup, I want to identify individual components whenever possible. So I don't see a visual indication of which is which. So I know that I can see that this is a tree. But what I would prefer is if there was a 1 here, a 2, and a 3 probably. Or an A, B, and C probably if you want to group them as the first step. I would probably do an A, B, and C. Anyway, this is all about reducing ambiguity, right? Reducing the energy it takes to understand what somebody means. That's what rulebooks, I think, should aim for. It's reducing the energy for somebody to understand how to do things, how to play, how to manipulate components. And so this is a position I've taken now after working on rulebooks for a little while, and I can say it professionally only because I've been paid to work on them, but it's not like my job. But still, this is just it's almost like a philosophical position. in the sense that you can do things a bunch of different ways, and this is how I've chosen to do them. So for me, it's one way to reduce energy is to limit the amount of thematic language that I use when I talk about components, or reduce it. So we might see some examples here with this super quick read. Give each player a village and pasture board in their color. It's interesting here to capitalize these. A village and pasture board, is that one thing or is that two things? Village board and pasture board. So if there are specific components, I would prefer to capitalize them. Also, I would separate them. So, or where'd that go? A village board and a pasture board, or give each player a village and yeah, I would probably find a way to clarify what this is here. In their color, along with their settler, sheep, warrior, and giants. Giants meeples? Or giant meeples? So it's also interesting here to not capitalize and to capitalize below. So one thing I look for, and you can see like I'm already, like I'm trying not to spend a lot of time on this, but I'm already in the weeds a little bit, the detail weeds, because when I look, again, this is about clarity, it's about reducing ambiguity. Is this lowercase sheep meeple, is this the same as the sheep indicated here? Of course it is. So make them look the same. One thing I've done in the past, which I don't know if I love or not, but it is either to capitalize the first time you use something and not worry about it after that, which is inconsistent, or like bold it the first time, probably capitalize and bold. Anyway, in there with their settler, yeah, so I would probably drop the S here, right? But anyway, looking for continuity between what is listed and then what is described. I want to see continuity there. And I think we'll run into another example of that in a second. So this is not a detailed read at all. Because like you can see, I already missed this as I was scanning through before. This is funny. What goes where? I would probably eliminate this, partly because this is not just about the placement of things, but it's a kind of a cute little description, little subtitle for the section. List of materials, thank you. What goes where? Yeah. So first player, I would probably shift first player down to like the last thing you do in setup. There's no, unless first player affects the starting resources, for example, or any other decisions that go into it, I would save first player in how to decide first player for the end of setup. That's where I would expect it as a reader. And so when I write rule books, that's where I would put them. That rule, those rules related to how to choose first player. The Harvest Moon tracker. Have them place their Harvest Moon tracker ahead of the other tokens to indicate they will be first. Okay, so this I read really quickly before, and I don't know what it means. So wait, finally, each player puts their Harvest Moon tracker on the Harvest Moon track and their points tracker off the board beside the starting one. So I would separate these sentences. This is one thing and then another thing. So I would probably do Yeah, for me, there are more steps here. I would rather not have several rules or instructions in a single paragraph, just for the sake of clarity. Like, you might miss one of these if you're looking through the rulebook kind of quickly. Give them their resource and building tracking tokens. Cool. This is, let me affirm something here. And that is to give instructions to the reader of the rulebook. This is, again, a preference. It's just another preference. This is what I like to do. There will be moments to break this rule of thumb, but I like to address the reader of the rulebook directly. It's just a preference, but I think it is more efficient. I think the word count drops a little bit when you can just say you rather than the player or something like that. But just assume that there is somebody running the game. I definitely prefer that. So I think here, like, well done. Who's placing it? The reader of the rulebook. Who's giving? The reader of the rulebook. I appreciate that. Sometimes it creates really awkward situations, and then you might find another way to solve this problem of like how to get things done. But in general, I prefer this. I prefer directly addressing the reader. Assuming that there's one person managing things. Okay, here is a case where Cole has shifted away from that rule, and that's totally fine. Each player will place their settlers, sheep, warrior, and giant meeples. So yeah, I think it was just a typo before. But now here we have settlers. It's funny. It's funny little details. People are they're busy. They want to get things done, and so for some reason there just continuity is one of the things that goes first. Onto the corresponding sections on their village board, and now here village is capitalized. So it's these details. So like if I'm reading, and I'm reading as the densest reader possible, then I'm thinking, wait, why is village capitalized here and not here? Are these different? Are these different boards? Of course they're not different. But if you indicate, if you label them differently, and a capital letter is a big deal when it comes to defining, when it comes to talking about something specific or talking about something in general, we use capital letters to tell the difference. So if you didn't use one here, but now you're using one here, I'm wondering, wait, is that significant or is that a mistake? Is that meaningful or is it a mistake? They'll also place, so I'm just going to highlight that as well. They'll also place their 3 resource tracking tokens on the 0 spaces for wheat, wood, and ore. And now here we have a shift back to direct address, and I'm not sure why. Place your building tracking tokens off to the side. So now we're back to your, right? So then instead of each player. So you can see I'm kind of being annoyingly detailed here, because I don't know what stage this rulebook is in. I don't know how close Cole thinks it is to its final state. So just for the sake of like communicating with you, I'm giving this a more detailed read than I normally would, because he just asked for some feedback. This is not a paid thing. If he wants me to spend a few hours on it, then I would ask for some help with that. But this I don't mind. I mean, also, like, I haven't in the past, I haven't really minded volunteering for a few hours anyway. But Cole knows that this is something I've done for pay in the past, and it's always helpful if especially if this becomes work, then it's always nice to get that financial support. Shuffle the skirmish cards. Skirmish cards, yeah. This, I wondered if it's 3 equal face-up piles. That's why I highlighted this. Shuffle the skirmish cards and place them in a face-down pile at the bottom of the world tree board. Bottom is an interesting word choice here. I kind of get it because the tree has a bottom, kind of. I might say on the something like the Yarrow card location, maybe, or space or area, rather than talk about like, because bottom it's orientation dependent, isn't it? That means there's a top and there's a bottom, but I don't know why. Yeah, it's fine, but it's the sort of thing I might agonize over a little too much. Okay, so setup continued. Yeah, shuffle the realm cards. Realms or realm cards? Okay, realm cards. And they're not capitalized up here, and it's not obvious to me why. Right, nothing is capitalized up here, except when we get down here for Jarl, Skirmish, and Merchant. Anyway, yeah. Okay, realm cards. Again, this is, see, I didn't even catch all this in my first reading. This is, I'm spending slightly more time on this than I normally would. Next, based on your player count, draw and reveal cards, which will then be placed face down on the corresponding realm. Okay, what is the realm? 6. What is a realm here? To block it off from the current game. So this, I feel like I don't have enough context to understand. Like, what does this mean? Not sure. Roll 1 realm die for each open realm and place the rolled dice on the corresponding realm space. This also, I feel like I didn't know what this meant. So roll 1 realm die for each open realm space. So I guess next, based on your player count, draw and reveal cards, which will then be placed. This is passive voice. So I would say which you will then place face down on the corresponding realm to block it. What is the corresponding realm? How do I know when things correspond in this game? I'm not sure. Is it that they look, the numbers the same? Like yeah, what helps me understand when things correspond? Do they have the same symbols? Probably, but it's not obvious to me, right? Okay, then roll 1 realm die for each open realm. An open realm, I assume, is one that's not blocked by a card. And place the rolled dice, is it die or dice, on the corresponding realm space. Okay, so now we have realm spaces. Okay, so this is the kind of thing that that I want to get balled up in as a reader trying to give feedback. It's to kind of, and this is like, I'm sure it'd be like infuriating for Cole to watch this, because he's like, no, that's not what I meant, or Isn't it obvious? Well, my job as a reader giving feedback is to get myself entangled in trying to understand. Like wherever I find snags, that's important. It's important to be really sensitive to that. If I wanted to, I could probably just kind of figure it out loosely and move on. But to get really balled up in this, I think is really important. Because it's the sort of thing that says to the rulebook writer, you know what, this could be clearer. And I would reduce the energy it takes for people to understand my game. That's the point. You're trying to reduce the energy it takes for somebody to understand what to do, right? How to play. That's the point. Okay, roll 1 realm die for each open realm. There are 8 realm dice. Okay. And 9 realm cards. And place the rolled dice on the corresponding realm space. 1 through 3 value. Okay, so if I roll a 1, then there must be a 1 space. Anyway, I don't know why there's a realm and now there's a realm space, and then I guess I assume that the realm space has a value 1 through 3. I'm not sure. Shuffle the rune stones. Are they rune stones or are they rune stone tokens? That's a big question. So, I prefer to this increases the word count. This is a preference, and I think there are reasons to break this rule. But I prefer to continue to talk. I prefer to continue to refer to components directly, rather than whatever their thematic label is. So, for instance, I might say runestone tokens. I know that's annoying, and it's maybe like, why don't you just relax? You know what a runestone is here. Shuffle the runestones. But do you shuffle tokens or do you shuffle cards? And make 4 even face-up piles on the world tree board. Wait, 8. Where is this? I might say randomize here, but who cares? That's fine. Shuffle and place 2 scoring objective tiles. Now this one I caught because I don't think there are any tiles listed. Right? There are no tiles. And then I went back up. This is the kind of thing where continuity is not super brain breaking. Like it doesn't, I don't know. Let's see, 2 scoring objective, and up here they are called tokens. So that kind of continuity I think is also important, but just not because it'll be super confusing, but because like, well, you said it was one thing, so make sure you keep talking about it as one thing. Place the round tracker on the starting space on the Jarl board. Which track is this though? Like why yeah, why is this the starting space? I don't know. But it's fine, but does this track have a name? I wonder. Shuffle the 3 merchant ship tokens and place them face up on the Jarl board. Of course, this should be capitalized. And beside the merchant ship icon. 11. Place them face up on the Jarl board. Shuffle the 3 merchant ship tokens beside the merchant ship icon. Maybe place them in a stack face up. Are they stacked? The 3 merchant ship tokens. Maybe. You're all set up and ready to play. Super. I'll start playing. This was annoying. I just said I wouldn't number this because it's not a step in setup, but I would probably make it a new paragraph, give it a little space, and congratulate the reader for setting up after the steps. Okay, so how to play. The goal. You know what? I think here I would just create a new section. I would just do a page break and drop down to here for how to play, just to give us some separation. The goal. So this is an interesting, I would give a little more context here, because this is assuming that I know the game plays in rounds, right? So I would give maybe a sentence or two here to let the reader know the structure of the game before. Now this is, yeah, I would keep it in the same section. I'm not saying I would move it, because some people get frustrated when the objective is like placed at the end of the rulebook, and I'm with them. Totally get that. But now here we have a section all about what the goal of the game is. Well, I would want to make sure my reader understands the overall structure of the game before they know before I tell them how the game ends and who the winner is. So this game is played over 8 rounds. At the end of 8 rounds, right? So here it feels like we're dropped into the we're dropped into the middle of a paragraph. At the end of 8 rounds, well, but wait, I didn't know there were 8 rounds. Okay, again, I'm being a kind of over specific reader here, but that's what I think my job is. At the end of 8 rounds, the player with the most points wins. So it's the structure of this sentence that is throwing me off, right? So what we could do is we could just shift at the end of 8 rounds, and that might be a little clearer. The player with the most points at the end of 8 rounds wins. I would still probably want to know that the game progresses through rounds before I carry the weight of knowing that there are 8 of them, and then at the end, the person with the most, at the end of the 8th one, then the person with the most points wins. Okay, for the first 3 rounds, players will gain a new settler to their village. So here, I know this is a place where you want to have the most condensed form of the game possible. That's kind of like, this is still overview. I'm actually not sure why. This is, I would put this as introduction, not overview. Because overview I take to be more about the game itself, the gameplay itself. Whereas introduction would be more like including the setting. And super like, maybe like semantic issue here. I don't know why I did that. It doesn't matter a lot at all, really, I would guess. But for me, I take overview to be more about how the game works. Okay, I really need to get back to ADRA HQ. But so what stands out to me about this little section is I have 0 context to understand what this means. For the first 3 rounds, players will gain a new settler to their village. Okay. Throughout the rounds, settlers will work through their life working as different jobs. This feels like thematic introduction to me. Because this doesn't give me an indication of the mechanics of the game. This is talking about the world of the game, right? Activating actions. Now we're using mechanical language, but I have no context for this mechanical language. So throughout rounds, settlers will work through their life like they have lives. Meeples have lives. What is that? What is what are you talking about? And okay, Cole, if you watch this, I'm not being negative here, right? I'm just saying I don't think I know what this is. I don't know enough yet to understand. Yeah, I'm being as dumb as possible as I read. So activating actions on the World Tree board until they reach the end of their life and pass away, proceeding over to the Bifrost Bridge. Gain resources and turn them into livestock, warriors, and buildings. Collect runestones and ally with nearby jarls to climb your way to victory. This, again, this feels like introduction. This is not how to play. Because not very little in here tells me how to play. It places me thematically into the world. Into the... Yes, to me this is a thematic description of what's going on. Okay, turn action. How to play turn action. At the beginning of each round, for the first 3 rounds, each player will place 1 settler on the settler starting location on the World Tree board. Okay, now here is mechanical language. This is helpful. But we're talking about turns. This is not yet talking about turns. So I might call this round structure as a section. When deploying, now I don't know, here's this thing about complex sentences. I don't know what deploying means yet. But now you're saying when I deploy, but I don't know what that is yet. So it's helpful in a rulebook for somebody to define the thing and then tell me what to do with it or tell me how to interact with it, right? Because I don't know what deploying means yet. And so how can I understand what happens when I do it, right? So when deploying settlers, sheep, warriors, and giants, always take from the left side. Left side of what? After deploying, okay, when deploying, okay, after deploying your settlers, play will proceed with the lead player. The lead player is the player that is the furthest ahead on the Harvest Moon track. On your turn, okay, here we go. On your turn, you will take any one of your settlers and move them up 1 location along the tracks. Yeah, I would spend a little more time defining, like describing the board probably, and the fact that there are tracks that you would move up incrementally. But it's interesting to use tracks here. Like, I don't know why there's more than one being mentioned. And you'll move one of your settlers and move it up 1 location. Because here, them, I get it that it's like sort of, it's gender neutral, singular, but you've just said one of your settlers and move them. It's interesting that it's just taking a little more energy to understand. So any one of your settlers and move it up 1 location, because it's a meeple. It's not a settler. It's not a person. It's a meeple, right? 1 location along the tracks. Along its track, maybe? Okay, for the first move of your starting settler, you may start it on the farmer, carpenter, or herbalist track. See, it's not obvious to me why I would learn about moving something up a track before I learn where the thing starts on the track. Right? I should learn... again, I'm trying to get into the headspace of somebody that needs to be told, that needs their hand held through do this, and then after you do this, then do that. Okay? That's just... I'm trying to be as dense as possible. When you move a settler to a new space, you know what? When it comes to tracks, I prefer advance. The reason I prefer advance is because advancing moves 1 direction. There is the beginning of the track, there's the end of the track, and advancing means they're moving along the track from the beginning to the end of the track. So I like advance. I think it's more precise here. Whereas move, I don't know which direction move indicates, right? Move can be anywhere. So the first move, for the first move of your starting settler, you may start it on the farmer, carpenter, or herbalist track. But is this a move? I don't think so, right? It's not a move. It's only a move once you're on the track. That's what I would think. When you move a settler to a new space, you will gain all the benefits shown there, probably. If action icons are split by a slash. Okay. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know enough about what could be there. This feels like a little side rule. Then you must choose only one action. Are these actions or are they benefits? Yeah. So some of these paragraphs I would like massage for a while. I would break them into steps, probably. Once a settler finishes one of the 3 starter tracks, what is a starter track? I think starter is a new term for me. Move them up 1 location along the tracks. For the first move of a starting settler, I don't know what a starting settler is all of a sudden. You may start it on the farmer, carpenter, or herbalist tracks. So these are the 3 tracks, but now there is a starter track. Their next movement will be to start on an advanced track. Viking, Rune Master, and Priest. Follow the indicated arrows to show you which tracks you are allowed to move to from the settler meeple's current location. Space or location? Okay. And you know what? I am gonna. I need to get to ADRA HQ. So I'm gonna finish this last little. Yeah. I'm just highlighting things because I think there's a fair amount of a lack of clarity. I think that's, for me, in my reading mode, this is pretty hard to follow. Reaches the top of a final track. They will finish the action space they landed on. What does it mean to finish a space? Does that mean resolve? Resolve, are these action spaces? What are these? Yeah, I think what would go a long way here is deciding on some language, and then sticking with it, because they'll finish the action space they landed on. Well, after deploying, does deploying mean starting a settler? Now I'm starting to get my head around where some of this language wants to go. For the first move, you may start it on these tracks. Okay, move a settler to a new space. A new space. Is this, should these be called action spaces or not? They landed on and then die. So I think it's, this is a mixture of thematic and mechanical language that I am not super excited about. So they'll, once they completely resolve the actions indicated on the final space of this track, whatever it is, move them to the Bifrost Bridge. If you want to add, move them to a specific location on the Bifrost Bridge. If you want to add thematic language there, after, this represents the death of the meeple. If you want to do that, I would separate it and I would move it over. Maybe you have along the, along one of the sides of the rulebook sheets, maybe there's like the story or something like that. But here, this is difficult. This is difficult to, like, why do I, death doesn't mean anything mechanically. Unless you define it. So to die means to whatever. But then I think you're weighing down the reader by having them remember what dying means. So instead, I think it's better just to have very clear mechanical language. Once every player has moved every settler meeple once every player has moved every settler meeple once. I would probably say after, right? Because these are two different variations on the word once here. really close to each other. And yeah, I just tripped over that just then. Then the round is over. Lay down settler meeples after moving them to help you remember. So this is something that this is a helpful tip, but what I would do instead is not describe why it's useful to lay them down. I would just have players lay them down. So you're not saying what the benefit of laying them down is, because it doesn't matter. I don't need to know, as a reader, I don't need to know why I'm laying them down. I just need to know that I should lay them down. So this is because this feels like a little bit of a waste of space or waste of energy to read that. So step one, place a settler meeple at the start of one of 3 tracks. Right? Step 2, advance a settler meeple on its track. One action space on its track. Resolve the actions shown in that space. Okay? And then end of round. So there's an on your turn thing, and then there's an end of round thing. After each player has moved, every settler meeple has moved each of their settler meeples once, the round is over. Oh, I forgot. So step 1, place a meeple at the start of one of 3 tracks, whatever it is. Step 2, this is a little bit tricky actually. Anyway, at some point we need to advance the meeple 1 step on its track and lay it down. Right? Then resolve the action space. Resolve the actions shown in its space, in its current space. Okay, then describe, it's the end of round section. After the round is over, stand up all settler meeples and advance the round tracker token 1 space, triggering any between round events. I don't know about these yet. Right? So this would be a new sentence. If the meeple, if the round tracker passes something, this will trigger a between round event. When that happens, resolve the event or whatever it is, right? Anyway, that's it for me. That's like almost that's basically an hour. I did not expect to spend this much time here. But yeah, so the truth is, if I were to consult with Cole, which I will, and I want to say Cole has done a really great job laying out the rule book. He's made a lot of progress in deciding the terminology he's going to be using, and how he wants to structure the rules. It's all great work. Then, as I'm reading through, you can see that if he's trying to target me as a reader, then we have some issues. And probably what I would ask is to reboot this rule book. So that doesn't feel good to hear, but I would say rather than making some like editing changes, I would probably want, because I didn't even look at these illustrations. I didn't really investigate I didn't really check whether or not these really clarify how things work. Maybe they do. But I'm focused here on the language, first and foremost on the language. And I would really want to play with some different layouts. I would definitely want to look for, It's almost like, you know how there's like a branding, what is that called? Like a branding kit for like graphic design. I think rulebooks need sort of a really really consistent jargon kit, terminology kit. So when you talk about something, you always talk about it this way, right? Are they spaces or are they locations? Pick one and never change it. Never talk about it any other way. Are they action spaces? Or are they locations? Or are they just spaces? So you choose that, and then once you have your jargon, your terminology kit like sorted out, then move on from there. But like, yeah, I would be much more incremental in these rules, and I would reorder things so that it's first do this, then do that. Or once this is true, or after this is true, then you can do this. How actions work. Okay, cool. There's a lot going on here. Anyway, I appreciate him sending over his rulebook. I am excited to learn a little more about how the game works. And I'll continue a quick reading, but I think even here, my recommendation will be to revisit this first third of the rule book. Yeah, because we're not even that deep into it, right? It's about halfway maybe. So okay, the first half. Okay. I really don't have a lot of time to work on. I mean, I'll stick around for a little bit, but I don't have a lot of time to work on ADRA HQ this morning. I have a bunch to do with my class, and then I've got a lunch and then another meeting this afternoon. So I'm going to do it a little bit though, because we do have I have the meeting. Yes. I have a meeting this afternoon to talk about retreat stuff, but let me spend just a little time. Oh, my mom was sending me updates. They're about their trip in France right now, and it's crazy. It looks really good. Okay, so yeah, so what my thought process for now, like really trying to nail down how turns are going to work in ADRA HQ. What I did yesterday was start to think through how turns work in games that have been very successful traditionally and in the mass market. So what I did, for example, was break down the decision tree in Uno. And it was actually more complicated than I expected. So, and it's not a decision tree exactly, it's like a logic tree, I guess. I don't know how to talk about it. I'm not a logician, but it stands out to me that there's a lot of if-then statements, and to resolve your turn in Uno actually gets fairly complicated if you're trying to teach it, right? And if you want players to like memorize the rules from the beginning. It's actually a lot more than I expected. So I'll talk through Uno as one example. Rummy has an even slightly more complex. Oh no, it's actually slightly simpler. But in Uno, on your turn, you have the question, do I have a card I can play legally to the discard pile? If no, then draw a card. But if that new card can be legally played to the discard pile. It says in the rules, the written rules, it says play it. It just says play it. So there's the first branch, which is, do you have a legal play? Yes or no? Well, the first fork, the first tine of that fork says the answer is no. Then draw a card. So no, and then now here's this new, you have to introduce this little action of drawing a card. Okay, once you've drawn a card though, you ask another question. Can that card legally be played legally to the discard pile? If no, play passes to the next player. If yes, play the card and resolve its effect. So there were 3 steps in that that go down that branch. Then there's the question of, do you have a legal play? Yes. Well, then play the card to the discard pile and resolve its effect, if any. So the first answer, so the initial fork is, yes, I have a legal play. Then from there, it's, does the card have an effect? No. Okay, play passes to the next player. If yes, then resolve the effect. And then you've got all these cards with all these effects, right? That you'd have to teach. So that's just Uno. And so what I was encouraged by yesterday is thinking about how I might be able to align ADRA HQ gameplay with Uno or with games that are of similar complexity. Because what I think I could do is something like, this is the first possible application here. So the question is, when it comes to my turn, do I have a card in my hand that I can play, that I can legally play to the challenge card in focus? If no, draw a card. Okay, that's one way to deal with this. If no, then draw a card. Then I could ask, can I legally play that card? If no, play passes. If yes, play the card. Okay, that'd be one way to borrow from Uno and apply it here. What it doesn't account for is the fact that there are 4 piles of cards, and one of the things that I would be asking players to do is to decide to refocus ADRA. So do we add some steps in there? Do we add some, like, where do we fit in this idea of refocusing ADRA? Because that's about it, right? What else? There are some other problems to solve, but if the gameplay was something like that, if it's your turn and you can play, go ahead and play a card. If not, draw a card. Okay, that's one way to go about it. Now here's Rummy. I didn't spend as much time thinking about how to apply Rummy, but here's a different option. So at the start of your turn in Rummy, you draw a card. Now the question is, do you have a meld? Can you play a set of cards? If not, do nothing. Or if you choose not to, do nothing. Then discard a card. But if you do have a legal set or a meld, lay it down. Then discard a card. So the structure is always draw a card, do nothing or do something, and then discard a card. That's also an interesting structure here. Because imagine making a player discard a card at the end of their turn every time. That could be tricky. Because it's also weird thematically. I guess you wouldn't be just like wasting resources, but maybe you would. Maybe like by participating, by trying to help over there, you are discarding a card. You would be wasting resources just by showing up. in that area. I mean, like like literally, like thematically. If you were to show up at a place and you brought all this stuff, then maybe some of the lettuce spoils, or maybe some of the medicine expires, or whatever, right? So, um, maybe some of the tenting molds, the canvas molds, or whatever. So just by being there at that location, you have all your stuff with you, but you've got to draw something and then discard something. It could be like, I don't need necessarily to apply it thematically, but maybe someone would ask. So draw a card. Okay, but okay, well, yeah. What would this look like here? Draw a card. If you can play a card or do something, I actually don't mind. I wouldn't mind just play any number of cards. This is still missing the point that that there's got to be a way to refocus ADRA. Because what if some cards themselves have the ability to refocus? I don't know if I love that. So it could be that like the single icon cards let you refocus. But then how many of them would you want in your deck? Huh. Well, that's an idea. Because, as I say, most players are used to the idea that when you play something, the card has an effect. So, huh. It just doesn't feel very good in this cooperative game. I think it doesn't feel that good if you draw a card and you get skipped. Right? If you can't play on the thing in focus, you obviously shouldn't just get skipped. But should it take energy to refocus? That's my question. And then if like one of the issues was if we have them discard cards, where do they go? Is there a discard pile? I'm not sure. So, because if there was a single pile in the center of the play area, just like Uno, if there was well, this also goes back to 5-minute dungeon. If you can play on it, play on it. If not, then you get skipped. Like, it feels bad in Uno. I wouldn't want to reproduce that feeling here. So I think if you can't play a card, you should be able to do something, like something useful, right? something that feels good. What about, okay, does it feel too complicated to say on your turn you can play 2 cards to the you can play up to 2 cards to the challenge card and focus, or you can refocus and play 1 card. Right, so potential turn structure. Let me write this down. Maybe I should edit this actually. Yeah. So okay, so type 1 still okay. If you cannot play a card, okay, so let's try type A here. Type A is no legal play at all. No legal play at all. Like there's nothing they could do that would allow them to play a card. And then draw a card. Okay, no legal play on the current focus. I'll just put it that way. Refocus, play a card. Then refocus, play a card. This is type B. Type C. A legal play. Play up to 2 cards. Okay? What about this? So what we haven't tried yet is this sounds logistically awkward now that I'm thinking about it. But what if the cards What if the cards, what if the challenge cards are revealed one by one rather than all being in stacks? So, how would this change? Okay, it could look like this. Let me go to, where was I doing this? I don't know why. Oh, here. Okay, so it could look like this. You'll see what I'm trying to do in a second. So let's say, where is an example? Okay, let's say this is the situation, except that now there is a pile. There's a pile of these. Okay, so or let's make these the challenge card pile. So the ooh, I don't know if I like this. But it's an idea. Okay, it's an idea. So what if you literally cannot do anything, then you draw a card and reveal a new and cover with a new challenge card. In other words, what would be happening is that there is one is resolved here. So rather than there being piles, there's a pile of cards out here. And somebody is managing those. Let's say it's the first responder, the start player, or whatever. Then, because in a way, well, I'm just about to say something that would make the players really sad. But what if you... Because I think you would lose progress. Well, this is interesting. Okay, so if no legal play at all, like there's nothing in your hand that can make any progress on any challenge card, because I still assume there's one of each. There's one card in each quadrant, showing or face up. So if I can't play anywhere, which should be rare, then what I do is I draw a card and I reveal a new challenge card. Oh, this wouldn't work. What if I did something like have a team leader Because what I don't like is that there's nice symmetry here in the way the board is laid out. If I can't just like drop a pile of cards in the middle here, I think that would be really weird. So that's why I have them like sitting off to the side, even though that is also weird. So how else could I indicate focus other than having a card spinning around in the middle? Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I'm. Hmm. Because what I'm thinking now, I mean, I like how I like how it looks when there are the four cards surrounding the center card. Um, but I'm not really sure it has to be like that. Hmm. Hmm. I think. Oh. It could be that you have to move the the challenge card in focus to the bottom of its pile. Then there's like an issue of like, what if there's no pile? What if it's just the last one? Or you move any card to the bottom of its pile. Um, Draw a card. Hmm. No legal play, draw a card. Or refocus and play a card. Or play up to 2 cards to the challenge card in focus. What if that's it? Draw a card. Hmm. Let me see. Let me describe it the other way. So, let's say, like I would put it. I would reorder these. So I'm just doing this for the logic, like thinking through the trees, like the decision, or the logic of a turn. But if I was teaching, I would say, okay, when it's your turn, play up to 2 cards to the challenge card in focus, or refocus and play a card, or play a card and refocus. And if you can't do, if you cannot play a card, then draw a card and pass the turn. How would I describe this? Okay, so let's say, let me try again. Okay, play comes to me, so it's my turn. I can play up to 2 cards. I think I like this rather than talking about actions, but I think actions also make sense here. But I could say, if you can't play a card anywhere on the table, then draw a card and pass the turn. If you can play a card, I guess the thing is, I want it to feel like there's a cost for refocusing. Okay, but I still like the clarity of this on a player's turn. If you can't play a card anywhere to make progress on a challenge card, then draw a card and then pass the turn. That's sad, but that's just the situation. If you need to refocus, then refocus and play 1 card. If you don't need to refocus, you can play up to 2 cards. I still like how a player could try to set up another player with a refocus. Okay, if you cannot play a card anywhere on the table, draw a card, pass the turn. If you can play a card, then you can do any combination of these 2 things. Refocus. You can refocus and play a card. You can play a card and refocus, or you can play up to 2 cards. Is that clearer? So it still might not feel awesome that you cannot, that you can't play a card. But I feel like this should be unusual. Okay, let me check this out again. I'm just curious to see how often this could happen. Well, I was just going to look at this for a second. How do I reset? Reset the room, okay. Okay, so the question is, I kind of like this. If you can play a card, you must play a card. The people need you, right? If there is a place on the table you can legally play a card, you must play a card. I think that's important. In other words, somebody can't just skip their turn and draw a ton of cards. That doesn't work here. Okay. Yeah, so if you cannot play a card, okay, I like this. If you cannot play a card anywhere on the table, draw a card, pass the turn. If you can play a card, then you must do any combination of, you must do two, you must play a card. If you need to refocus, then refocus and play a card, or play a card and then refocus, or play up to 2 cards. After that, pass the turn. Is this clicking? Is this making sense? So, let's say it's player 1, okay? Can they legally play a card? Yes, they can. So they'll play over here. All right. They can play up to 2. Well, they can't. So they do that. They play here. Okay, now over here. Can this player legally play a card? Yes, they can. So they'll play a card. Can they play another one? No, they cannot. So they may refocus. But they'll just pass the turn because this player says, oh, I have 2 books. Okay, 1 and then 2. Okay. This player cannot play to this card, so they decide to refocus. They're going to go down here and play 2 waters. Okay, can this player play over here? They can. So they choose to play these apples. The food. All right, and then they can refocus if they want. Where should we refocus? Okay, so the player decides to refocus over here. So they played 1 card and then refocused. Okay, so here is the first finished challenge card. So then this goes away. This is a lot of cards. Right? And then there's another similar card beneath it. Well, I guess they could have refocused. And then at the end of their turn, they would change the direction. But let's say they decide to refocus over here for the next player. So here's 1, and then 2. Where is it? Oh, so this guy needs to draw. Okay, so play is passed over here. So the 1, 2, Okay. Then, is there any legal play? Yes. So go over here. Or you know what? Let's go over here and just play the 1. Is there anywhere that this player can play? Yes, there is. The refocus. Okay. And I do think you should probably, I'm going to try one more time here. Reset the room. And then let's say you always start your next turn with 4 or more cards. So let's say those 2 are gone, so then this player, right? And then let's say they play here 1. And then 2, I guess. Okay, and then they draw back up. And this player can finish, I think they can finish this, right? 1, 2. Okay. They draw back up. And then this is gone. So we get rid of these. Okay, now this player, let's say likes the idea of playing the 2 here. And then so refocused, and so now needs to draw back up. This player plays that and this. Okay, draws back up. Okay, over here. So we'll refocus and play 1. Okay, draw back up. Now 1, 2. Draw back up. What I haven't really tried is if a player wants to just skip their turn and draw. But like, let's just go here. Yeah, it's a little bit awkward where I have, like, there's no space right there, right? So draw. Okay, draw. Yeah, I like how this is going. And if you literally can't play anywhere, which I think should be very, very rare, then you just draw a card. I think that might be the best I can do. Anyway, I've had a great time. This is about 1 hour and 45 minutes. So thanks for hanging out with me. I hope to see you soon.